Hey there, Jonathan here, Central North Island, New Zealand. How are you today? Well, you can tell when you have a nice frost and snow on the mountains in the distance that you've got a good day up your sleeve, and that's exactly what we've got here today. Look at that blue sky up there. Today we're going to have a look at a couple of our garden areas. One of them we call the rhododendron mound, so we'll start with that one, and then we'll just step across the drive and check that one out. So although this rhododendron mound garden isn't in flower yet, not till probably October, I thought we'd have a look at it. What I'm quite pleased with at the moment is these cherry trees that are deciduous, obviously. So with them having no leaves, and they need a prune in another little while just to lift the canopy a wee bit again. Each year I do that. But with their lack of leaves, you can see underneath, and the daffodils are up, or at least they're up at this end and flowering. The rest of them along here are, the leaves are up, but the flowers aren't. But also in underneath is the Camellia quintessence, these little ones in here. And what I think is quite cool is the way you can see it all. So when you do a planter garden, you could plan that and do that, which is probably what you would do. But for us, this particular garden kind of happened in stages, and it's accidentally worked out sort of how you think it should. So the rhododendrons went in first, then I think it was after that I thought I needed a bit more shade, or some shade. I think that's the way it went. So we put these weeping cherry trees, which are Pendula rosea, I think, and the daffodils then in front of them. So it all kind of went in different shapes, and those Camellia quintessence, the little ground cover ones, were further up on the rhododendron mound, and I moved them to the front so you could see them because they're just a ground cover. So so it's sort of how you should end up having it look possibly when you're done. No leaves on the trees and the flowering things in underneath, but the fact we did it in different stages, it's worked out well. So I think it looks really good. I've got most of the stakes off these cherry trees now too, so they look quite good like that. These couple I just thought the other month weren't quite ready, but I'll see how they go in another month or so. I might get them off. So we've got that rock around the bottom, and I might just increase that just a little bit, mound it up more just to help stop leaves and things falling down. But at the end of the day, they only fall in autumn for a few weeks, and then that's it. But look at them staying up on the bank, they're making nice mulch. So we'll go for a little wander along the path. I can tell you the names of some of the rhododendrons, but I won't put pictures up and names of all of them on screen, because it'll probably happen in October when they're all flowering anyway. So I can just tell you what they are and show you what we've got. But pretty much they're all, call it the rhododendron mound for an obvious reason. It's a mound. And actually there's hostas in under these cherry trees too, these first three. I put a few hostas in last year because I'd grown a whole lot from seed, which came up and flowered while they were in their pots. So I put a few in where I thought it was shady enough, and it was all pretty good. Just a couple at this end. I was pushing my luck out here around this stump or log. They got a little bit hot. But other than that, the rhododendrons are all low growing, sort of a metre high is what their recommended heights are. 10-year recommended height. They've been in here, and I'm guessing because I didn't think about it earlier, but probably 7 years maybe. So they have been here a while. Some of them are Eucushimanum hybrids, so crossed with Eucushimanum and other ones. Some of them are not, but yeah, they're all roughly get to a metre. So that's what we're after for this garden. So there's various ones in here. There's lemon mist, there's apple brandy, there's Baden. Who else have we got? I think we've got, so there we go, Canadian Sunset. I think there's Hoppy, which is one of the 7 dwarf ones that they brought out. I actually was reading on one of the rhododendron websites that it was misnamed at birth, because obviously it would be happy if it was one of the seven dwarfs. So it came out in the seven dwarf series, but for some reason it's called Hoppy and not Happy. So I'm not sure why. And we've also got a big honey tulip, which is a yellow, very light yellow, big flowered magnolia there, which is full of bud. And then we just have this little seat where we can come through and sit and see them all. That's probably our biggest rhododendron. That's probably 2 metres across, but still not quite a metre high yet. Most of them are labelled, and if they're not labelled here, they are on my plan inside. And then at the end we have another magnolia, and that one is Vulcan, which is sort of a velvety, I don't know what colour you call it, pinky mauvey sort of a colour. Actually, there's quite a few sort of in those colours, so you've got to be careful when you're getting the magnolias, because they look nice individually, and then when you collect a few of them, a few different types, you can end up with quite a few that look fairly similar. Sometimes the shape of the flower can be a little different, but as far as the flower colour, there can be quite a few sort of crossovers. The same as the cherry trees. There's so many of them, but a lot of them are just sort of versions of each other, I find. We have 36 different rhododendrons on the property. I think we've got 40 something total plants, but 36 individual cultivars, hybrids. And this is just one collection of our small ones in one place. The rest are spread more around the gardens, but this is, since they were all small ones, all put in one place as a rhododendron mound, and we can just wander in that little path and have a seat and look at them all as they flower, or as they don't flower. Still good just to sit in there. But they're growing well and really coming on now. A few years back I went and raked up big wool packs of pine needles from in the forest down the road and put them on up there, because it's good mulch and it was good acid for the plants, and that was nice and thick and really well, but it was getting a bit thin, and I've just sort of applied some more mulch up there now of a bought mulch rather than the pine needles, and it makes it look really good. The size of the magnolias and these weeping cherries in the front and the rhododendrons getting up is looking fairly good. We've got a few in the back that I stuck in. We've got one up near the house, which is a smaller one called Osbos Low Yellow, and I've looked it up and I can't find a record. No one seems to know what its parentage is, because it's dropped seedlings, and they all grew. Well, there was various seedlings from time to time, and I off it, and I let them grow up to about 3 or 6 inches high, and then I've potted them up and eventually put them in the garden. You can hear all the dead magnolia leaves I'm walking in. And I've put a few along here, so I have no idea how big they're going to get or what their flower will be. So, I've stuck them in the background here just in case they get up sort of a couple of metres high, which won't matter. So it's really an unknown, or what their flower will even be. Yeah, so there's one there. This guy's looking a little bit yellow. There's another one there. He's looking all right. And this one over here is reasonable size, actually. So that's the rhododendron mound. And then we come across the drive. We could start in this garden, I guess. this has got a really experimental name. So this concrete pad I poured, and we're going to put, I'll just stand around here out of the sun a wee bit more. We're going to put portals up there and turn that into a garage or a carport or something, sort of we're going to call it like an implement shed. So it'll have concrete mixers and log splitter and things like that in there. So we call this garden at the moment the carport garden, or the new carport garden. Carport's not that new now because I think the concrete's been there for over a year, but anyway, this is the new carport garden. So we've got Prosma Mangatangi, which was in a pot on the deck, and I moved it to here because I took the plants out of that big pot that was sharing with that one. And we've got a couple of maples, 2 different ones, one there and one over there. And we've got my favourite purple Laura pedalums, Burgundy Delight or Plum Delight or something like that. And then I've got the dark coloured hookeras. I might try and introduce a little bit of silver in here, possibly the Dusty Miller Sinesios. And there's a whipcord conifer there. A few scleranthus mosses, which will just grow and mound and sort of swoop over the rocks and things. Chemicypris obtusa nana, so dwarf Hinoki cypress. They're very slow growing, but they do seem to grow all right here, and they do eventually get up. They take a few years, but they start to get up, but they're not a big tree at all, not a big plant at all. So they never cause any trouble. And I just added Thea Rheingold in here. Actually added another one up in there. There's a couple of kowais around them, kowhais, and that's our conifer sort of bank up behind the garage. We actually call the garage an Autobahn, B-A-R-N, so it's sort of like Autobahn in Germany and an Autobahn where you keep automobiles, so call it the Autobahn. We've got a couple of sheds and things in the shade house and the nursery, so we tend to have names for everything, because if you don't have names you're not really sure what you're talking about when Brenna and I are talking to each other. So you've got to have a name of where they are in the garden or which shed they're in, because you spent so long explaining which one you're talking about if you don't have a name. So this area up here I was going to move up into is called, well, we refer to it as the Rainbow Trees Garden. We did have 3 sculpture pieces just made of driftwood that I'd had for years. They'd been following me around, and eventually when we moved here I painted them up and we had them standing up just in here. I had them concreted in the ground to help them not rot out or anything, and they lasted for quite a few years, but eventually 2 of them just sort of rotted and were breaking off, so I snapped them off. The concrete's still in the ground, and that's the remnants of one of them. So I've just left it lying there, so it's like a sleeping rainbow tree now. So there's a couple of matching cherry trees there, which are the same as the ones on the other side. So those are the ones that are in one of the videos where I was moving deciduous trees, I think. I took 2 crab apples out of there, so those are the 2 matching cherry trees that I'd put in. And then we have a few birches up here, just a group of 3 birches here. We've got Pieris. Lily of the Valley is one of its common names. But it's getting quite sort of bushy in here, which is quite cool. It almost needs a better name now. We've got all these dead parts here need trimming off. There's no real urgency, but those are all granny's bonnets, Aquilegia. You can see them all shooting away down inside. So they flower amazingly and get up. The tops of the flowers can be about 1 metre high. So they're really cool. Oops, just stood on one, but he'll survive. Then these two here are Hebe speciosa. So they have that long purple flower. They can go woody, Hebes. They're sort of like a lavender in a way. You kind of got to watch how much you trim them back, and they can get woody, but those are a few years old. I don't really want them any higher than that. That's probably metre high, 1200, yeah. They might be nearly getting up to 4 foot. These two, there's 3 in here, but this is 2 of them. Camellia Night Rider. These are probably getting close to one of my favourite camellias. They've such a nice dark tight leaf, and just the flowers when they come out are such a dark red. But even the colour of the buds, look at that, there's a bee there. But just the buds are such cool colours, you know, from a distance. And we've got another magnolia in the background there. That's black tulip. So some of these magnolias, this one, black tulip, Vulcan, that was over there, and just beyond it, the honey tulip, they're all similar age, and they're up probably 3 metres high, I guess, at least. 3, yeah. So say 10 feet. There's the other Night Rider camellia there. This is Pseudopanax crassifolius, lancewood. Odd shaped one, I think it came from the nursery because it was so odd shaped. It's got that walking stick handle, and then it's got 2, 4 shoots, 5 shoots, 6 shoots. But it's looking good, looking good. Got some 5-finger and over in here. Pseudopanax arboreus. Oh, those might actually be putty. Yeah, there's a few different Pseudopanax hanging around here. Sephora, which is a Ko-Fi, has a yellow flower and later on. There's a few hydrangeas in here that I took cuttings off. No, they were layerings actually, off Blue Wave, and I've put them in here. There's quite a few of them, which they're starting to, they've been in here probably a good 3 or 4 years now, so they're sort of well rooted in and starting to grow. They're not particularly big yet, but they're definitely alive and kicking. And then I've got a group, well not a group, a line, I guess. It's not really a group, is it? I've got a line of rhododendron unique, and that's probably 4 foot high and probably 6 foot across. Big round mound. They're really nice. They come out reasonably early too. There'll be a few months yet though. So there's one there. That one there, he was the last one to go in, but it would have been there a good 4 years probably. Nice and shaded in there this time of the year too. Camellia, rhododendron unique, and another one hiding up in there. And then all of these camellias are called something whose name escapes me at the moment, but they're all the same, and they're just in between our Eddie's White Wonder cornice, which go up the side of the drive. Yeah, so that's a nice bushy sort of a garden that almost warrants having a seat somewhere in it. Doesn't really need a path, I don't think, because I managed to just wander through now. There's not too many small things to worry about standing on. There's some zophanthes there that have the little white lily flower, like a little, I think they're called maybe a Peruvian lily or some word like that. Some granny's bonnets around them. But other than that, there's not a lot of things to stand on. There's no bulbs in here. But it's real bushy in there. This area here could possibly do with a little bit of a fill with something, which I guess I should look at that over the next few weeks while it's still good planting time. I don't think I'll put bulbs. Bulbs are good, but you sort of, I don't know. I quite like bulbs. Bulbs in some areas, but some places they can just multiply and then you've got to go back and sort them out in a few years, so we'll see. I'll probably put some daffodils in around here though, just on the slope and under these weeping cherry trees so that it matches the other side of the drive. There's a couple more of those rhododendrons that were the ones that grew from seed off the Osbos low yellow. They're quite big, but yeah, who knows what they're going to do. But then that's the drive up there, so we've got the camellias for evergreen shelter and cover and life during winter, and in between the other Eddie's White Wonder, cornice. And a few penstemons I slipped in up here. Penstemon I pulled out and I managed to divide it into 4 or 5. So I poked one in each gap between these grasses. So it's a soft sort of a pink one. It could be, no, it's not watermelon, but it does have a name and I can't remember what it was. I got them years ago, and when I moved it I managed to rescue a few pieces. Then the other side of the drive is the same camellias, which I get a trim once they're finished flowering. I'll just trim them back down to keep them, they're okay that size, but they don't need to get bigger, so I'll give them a good trim, and if they go back to that size that's fine, but I don't want them to outride don't want them to overtake the cornice Eddie's White Wonder, which will be a little while yet, but they'll come into flower and leaf. And then we've got these carex grasses, Carex virgata, which are a big grass on the sides of the drive. So that's just a couple of our front entrance sort of gardens. So thanks for joining me today on a little look at a couple of our gardens as we come in the front entrance. They're not in full life or full flower yet, like I said, so we'll catch them when they are, and I'll start properly naming the plants for you and showing them. It's all quite picturesque when it all starts to happen, so until that time we'll let it sleep and get ready for spring. Thanks for watching. If you like it, give me a like or a subscribe and a comment, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. See you later.